Bonsai. I'm the Cobra Kai kid, and today I am joined by Perri Nemiroff, the senior producer of Collider, and we're here to talk Cobra Kai and some fun what if scenarios. So, how are you doing today, Perri?
I am doing very well. I'm happy to be here on the channel and to have just unboxed my latest Cobra Kai purchase because we all know I need even more Cobra Kai clothing than I already have.
You can never go wrong with all the Cobra Kai clothing. Look,
So much.
got it right here. So
I feel like your t-shirt's a lot softer than this shirt. I got some breaking in to do right now.
yeah, this is very, very comfortable. I'm very particular with the t-shirts I get. Amazon has a very good selection.
Amazon has that like official legit store and it's organized by Dojo. I love it. This one's the contender shirt and they have really cool designs. I'm wondering if this is the fabric they use for all their clothing though.
Yeah, I saw that you showed me it earlier. Do you want to show everyone the sleeve? I thought that was pretty cool.
The sleeve.
There's only one animal that can kill a snake. And then I thought the other side it says the same thing. I thought it should
be a mongoose.
It should have been a mongoose. It literally should have been a mongoose. I got it right here.
Mongoose? Oh, that's so appropriate. I think Bert needs a t-shirt. Where's all the Bert love in the merch store?
Bert needs a t-shirt. Bert needs a t-shirt. I don't like just like his face. Or maybe like, you know, like when he got thrown out the window and there was no cat, maybe like his face saying like no cat.
It's definitely something with a cat. I feel like you're pinpointing the right thing for a shirt right now.
Or Clarence the mouse, his beloved mouse.
I can't think of Clarence the mouse. It breaks my heart.
I know. Rest in peace, Clarence. so Perri, do you want to just explain to everyone? I'm sure a lot of people here know who you are, but do you want to tell them what it is that you do and how you're associated with Cobra Kai?
Happily. So I am the senior producer at Collider. I also do a whole bunch of stuff on my own YouTube channel and a bunch of things on the side, like hosting comic convention panels. And I first started watching Cobra Kai when it was a YouTube original show. And the audience was still big then, but it wasn't as big. And I was just a big fan and always covering it. And then when they had their season 2 panel at San Diego Comic-Con, they asked me if I wanted to host it. And it was just an absolute dream because I've always wanted to host a San Diego Comic-Con panel. And then all of a sudden I was getting to do it for one of my favorite shows. And as if that scenario can't get even better, then when I met the team behind the show, the creators and the cast, they were like an absolute dream. I feel like when you fall so hard for a show and you come to learn that the people behind it are such like true gems, it makes me love the show even more. And at that point, it went from like, I love this show a lot, I could rewatch it over and over, to like, I am obsessed and I must theorize about everything and examine every frame. And I've basically been doing that ever since.
Was that the first time you met them at that convention? Or at least in some sort of way?
I think it was, because I don't think I ever did any interviews for season 1. So I think season 2 was the start of it all.
Okay. And I know it was after season 2. I don't know if it was at your convention. I'm curious. Maybe it was. Was your convention the place where Ralph announced that Daniel was going to Okinawa? Was that yours?
It might have been.
There was that big announcement before season 3 that Daniel was going to go to Okinawa.
It's a good question. I feel like we were able to discuss it at that panel. It must have been out there at that point.
What
wasn't? I don't know. We've had so many conversations over the years.
When was it? Do you remember? Like what
was what year? It was the summer of 2019.
The summer of 2019. Season 2 came out in like April.
It had already come out and
it was announced shortly after that Daniel was going to go to Okinawa. So
I think we were able to talk about it because then I remember having Mary on my show Collider Ladies Night, and I think that was right around when maybe the Netflix acquisition was announced.
Yeah.
Oh my. I feel like I usually have the timeline all sorted out, but like I'm still like buzzing from the season 4 craziness.
Oh, it's so much to process. So much to process. I'm still processing it, honestly.
I feel like I kind of am too. there's just so many possibilities going forward. I feel like those were the most difficult interviews to do, asking them questions about what happens in season 4, knowing that they already know what happens in season 5. It's like so hard to stop
Yeah.
your mind from jumping ahead, even though now is the time to talk about season 4 alone.
Yeah, when I went to Rhode Island Comic Con, I met Gianni DiCenzo who plays Dimitri, and I asked him, I was like, do you like, is it tough to like, you're here promoting season 4, you can't talk about season 4, you're filming season 5. Do you like ever get confused? Like, and then even when season 4 comes out, you can't, because you're filming this season. Can we talk about this? Can we talk about that?
I asked a couple of questions during that season 4 junket because we'll always ask a couple non-spoiler questions and then spoiler questions so we could use it to promote the show because it deserves more viewers. But then, to get into the details a little. And I asked a couple things that I knew were unfair, like asking Mary in particular. It's like, where is Sam's head at the end of season 4? Is she just like completely defeated, or is she going to be able to forge forward? And she gave me a really good, thoughtful answer without spoiling anything. So she gets all the credit in the world for doing that. But I felt bad asking that because she knows what happens next for Sam.
Yeah, it was great working with the cast. We had such a great time, and so excited for you to see the next season. That's
I
like
know.
the
It's so
classic
they
answer.
had no choice.
It's so funny, but I think I've watched all your interviews, and they're awesome. I thank you for giving us the Cobra Kai content. I'm sure everyone here, it's after you watched a season, you want to know what goes into it. You were one of the first people to interview the writers, and that was the interview that I was excited to watch. I wanted to know everything, like Silver Stingray, like that's my favorite part from the whole season.
Really?
That whole from episode 8 to 10, like Silver's transformation, that whole thing was my favorite. So
I feel like everything Terry Silver related is at the peak of season 4 for me, but I feel like they perfectly positioned Stingray's return where I was already so into other storylines that I wasn't expecting it at all. So when he popped up, I kind of freaked out. I'm like, wow, this is actually happening again.
yeah, I've seen a bunch of interviews, so I don't remember if they said it specifically on yours, but like they said something that like boggled my mind because the big question is like, can Silver be redeemed? I don't know if it was. Did you ask that?
I
And
think I kind of asked it in a different way to the writers, but I did ask Thomas Ian Griffith that.
and then yeah, it's like in a way he was already redeemed in the beginning of season 4. It's not like he was.
He kind of is. And I mean, that's another question that I keep asking from season to season that feels unfair because I feel like one of the big reasons why Cobra Kai is one of the best shows out there is because it does such a good job of always, you might not agree with a bad thing that a character does, but the show always justifies why they made the decision. And I feel like because they justify the why, they have the opportunity to have that character learn from it and pivot down the line. I mean, Terry stoops to some pretty low lows. And at a point, you have to ask yourself if you're going to redeem the main cast members, like if KREESE is on a better path now, you got to cut that off eventually, right? You can't do it with all of them.
Yeah. I think Silver is because we already saw his redemption. I don't think there's any going back with him. I think
I'm torn. I'm very torn on the matter.
maybe like listen, maybe like okay, like you know what? I'll leave you alone. But that's it. Like he's still or he loses and I don't know.
Part of me is thinking that because we already saw what Terry was like when he was in a better place, maybe having the right experience or the right conversation with certain characters can get him back there and can get him back there more stably. But I don't know, thinking about overall series structure, it feels like what they're building towards to me is, like an epic team of heroes versus an epic team of villains. And whoever Silver teams up with in the new season, it's going to be, like big bad quality.
It's everyone from Karate Kids 1, 2, and 4 versus everyone from Karate Kid 3. It's Silver and Barnes and Dennis and First,
That's the benefit of having a great series. They could do it. It's like the Elizabeth Shue of it all really proved to me that this show can get anyone they want from those other movies. I really believe they can do it if they have a good reason to justify it in the story going forward.
I'm curious. Like, I would want to ask them, because Thomas wasn't confirmed from the beginning. You know, they didn't get him from the beginning when they started. They didn't ask him until season 3. So they were making the whole Vietnam flashback, setting up his return. So my question is, what if he said no? What if they couldn't bring him back? How would they have done? Like, they probably would have. Do you think they would have like wrapped up the whole show with Kreese being the bad guy, and then
I don't think they ever got there. I asked them that question with
you
Thomas,
did?
and I asked them the same question with Elizabeth Shue, because I remember there was a point where they said, like it was down to the last possible second with her, like either confirming or moving on to something else. And I asked them if they had like an alt story in mind just in case she didn't commit, but I think they said, I don't remember the exact quote. I think it was something to the effect of, when we get something in our minds, we hold tight to it and we believe in it. So they never came up with another option. They were just rolling with it as though they were going to get her. And I feel like it was kind of something similar with Thomas. Like they had the idea, and then I think the second they went out to him, he was down.
Yeah, I think I actually saw in an interview like somewhere that they had a plan if she wouldn't be in it, if she wasn't in it, but it was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It would have
Oh,
ruined the
really?
show. It was so bad. It was the explanation for the friend request. It was Allie's husband playing like a prank on Johnny. That
Ooh.
would it would have like ruined the end of season 2, you know?
I Yeah, I feel like going back, because I rewatch the seasons all the time. And I think about it the same way as I do my movies. Whenever I get a new installment of a film franchise, I love when I go back and it enhances my viewing of the movies that came before it. So I wouldn't want that story point to have that effect on season 2. But I feel like the only way that could have worked is if her husband was someone that we knew from the films.
Mike Barnes.
It seems unlikely to me, though. It's not the Allie Mills that I knew.
No, definitely not. So, how did you first get into Karate Kid and Cobra Kai? Sorry, my throat's like
It
scratching.
happens. It happens. I grew up watching a lot of movies, and I am lucky enough to have parents who love movies and loved introducing me to them. So I watched a lot of Karate Kid growing up, all the time, and I wanted to learn karate when I was a kid. I don't do it anymore, and I kind of regret not sticking with it because I am a big athlete and I love sports and I love learning new stuff. But I was pretty hardcore when I was a teenager with it, and I think I got all the way to like maybe maybe it was a brown belt when I stopped. But I was very into it and I was pretty good. And then you know what happens sometimes when you get older and you get distracted by other things, and that was it. But my appreciation for the Karate Kid franchise never went anywhere.
Yeah, I was like a black belt in first grade. You know, it's no big deal. I was just like a total
First
black belt.
grade?
First grade, I was breaking boards left and right. Master Moon.
I
I
feel like
always
my
remember
first
that.
grade brain couldn't even house all the information and the moves that you need to remember to achieve that level.
I'm just kidding. I'm pretty sure I was like an orange belt. I
Okay. That
I
sounds a little more reasonable to me.
so it's like it's funny because they have like you break the boards to get your next belt. Um I don't I don't know. Like I'm not sure if I was actually breaking boards or like I'll show you like I have this like breakable board. It's like you put it together and then like you punch it and it breaks apart easily. Like now I'm like starting to think if they sell these like were they using that when I was in first grade? Like was my whole
Pro
life
It
a
was
lie?
probably either that or some really, really thin wood. We did that a good deal when we were kids. I was really into it.
Yeah, Cobra Kai is just like it just gets you into it. It just makes you want to like it just motivate the show motivates you. Like when you see Johnny's like his training montage, which that was the funniest thing. Like the burning heart montage where he like kicks a mailbox and grabs some guy's scooter and throws it.
It's very, very Johnny Lawrence. But yeah, I mean, you're totally right about it. Whether it's watching the young generation learn and grow, or even seeing how the OG characters have stuck with, and like knowing that they stuck with it in real life too, and that they're all, you know, pretty skilled at the sport. It kind of does. It like it gives me that itch to get back into it. But I feel like I would just break something at this point, like a bone in my body.
So I'm curious out of the kids and out of the adults in real life, who do you think is the best martial artist
In real life,
in real life?
based on what I've heard, I do think Thomas Ian Griffith is probably the most talented. Like I've seen, you know, like the videos that they've posted on Instagram and stuff. And based on what I hear from, you know, the other cast members and interviews, I think he probably is the most highly trained of the bunch. And then I think I'll just lean on what Peyton List told me, and I'll go with Jacob Bertram being the best of the kids, because I think the way that I phrased it to like we were talking about who would win the All Valley in real life, and I think
Oh,
she
cool.
said him because he's so fast. And I feel like since the very beginning of the series, one of the reasons why Hawk was my favorite character was because I was also just so wowed by how skilled and talented he became doing karate. Like I couldn't take my eyes off of him in that scene. Those scenes.
Yeah. He's definitely got the speed, and then like Tanner, who I think is definitely second place.
Yeah.
Even though second place is no place, you're off the team. Like
Cobra Kai mentality right
yeah.
there.
Yeah, like Tanner is the dude could do a backflip. He did it in the show.
They're both I mean, they're both pretty good.
I think
They're
can
both
Jake
pretty good. And I wouldn't be surprised if after Sholo does his Blue Beetle training, if he got even
Yeah.
better than he already is. I
Yeah,
want to
that
see Gianni get really good too.
he's gotten that it was that tournament, like because I don't think we've really we've seen him in a couple fights, but the tournament really like had him like show off his skills. The other fights were kind of just like, it was like the laser tag fight and the
Mhm.
the, the LaRusso house fight. You didn't really get to see like Dimitri. This
Not
fight you saw
yeah.
the tournament you saw Dimitri and he kicked ass. He was
It was really like focused. And you know, like I love the house fight when he's fighting with Hawk. That was still like to this day one of the most satisfying beats of the entire series to me. And you could tell he got pretty good then, but it's like a different kind of precision that he exhibits in the tournament that shows like not only is he getting good at karate, but if he keeps practicing, he could actually win these types of things. Like I feel like we saw him take a significant step forward in that respect here.
and his confidence, like he literally did that to Robbie. To Robbie, he was like, "Yeah, come at me, bro."
So like confidence in the tournament when he's fighting. And then I also love the conversation that he has with Eli too. I feel like there's like a deeply personal kind of conflict. I feel like he's probably been one of the most confident characters of the bunch in terms of knowing who he is and sticking to it. But I just love the fact that he's always believed in himself. And now we're seeing him have that kind of confidence where he can give Eli the nudge he needs to go in a better direction.
Yeah. You're taller than him. You have the high ground. I love that. I feel like Jedi younglings being slaughtered by the Sith or whatever the line was. It was such a cool like in the season 4 finale you have a prequel reference like that. You can't get better than that.
The John, Josh, and Hayden are Star Wars fans. Does not surprise me. And it's like thematically, it's all over Cobra Kai.
They're like it's funny because there's like more prequel references in Cobra Kai than in the newer Star Wars.
It's quite a bit. I don't mind it. I'm here for it.
I love the prequel, so
I'm a big fan too.
yeah, it's great. It's great. So I do have to ask too before we get into our what ifs. Uh the this season had like so many cast members. I saw your review And that was definitely something that I was also concerned with. What was, how are they going to like balance all these cast members, all these storylines, especially since you're bringing in Terry Silver and Anthony's going to get a bigger story. Kenny, I was very curious. And then I was curious, like, how is it all going to play out in the All Valley tournament? Because my view on it is like, it's not just about who's the best fighter, because if we're doing that, then, Hawk and Robbie win. Before we knew there was a girls bracket. My whole thing was, if Miguel does not win this tournament, he needs to be injured, or they need to do something. They need to give him some sort of excuse. You can't have the main character of the show, the next Karate Kid. They've said Miguel's the main kid. You can't have him just lose after his whole progression, and they decided to go with him choosing not to return. Like, what do you think about just like the balance of all the characters?
I still can't believe it. It's like, on paper, if you just gave me the blueprint of season 4 and explained to me what they wanted to achieve with all these different characters, I would have told you there's no, as much as I love the first 3 seasons, there's no way this is going to work. You cannot sustain this in just 10 episodes with a sub hour long format. It's just not enough time. But they do so, and they do this every season, but I feel like the challenge was especially big this time around. They do a really good job crossing the characters over in ways where one can't really fully grow without another getting involved. And that lets everybody have their own storylines, but also mean a little more because of what happens when they work together. So I love that as far as like an overall blueprint for the season. When it comes to the end and who makes it to the tournament, I'm definitely with you on that. I feel like they couldn't just have Miguel lose, because it seems to me like one of the points that they're trying to make with season 4, and then probably emphasize as we get more show, is that winning isn't everything. It's like they do the same thing with Tori too. Like, Miguel had to learn that there were more important things in life than winning a karate tournament. Like, he needs something else personal to him right now, and that has to be the priority. And with Tori, she spends a good deal of the season talking about how a win can define her and make her feel better about her situation and give her more confidence, when I think we're going to see a lot in season 5 that the truth of the matter of it is, it's more about like, practicing what you love and learning more karate and getting good if you're passionate about it. But there's more to it than that. It can't just be about getting the trophy and getting the win.
Speaking of Tori, I was not a huge fan of her character in seasons 2 and 3, because like, just like all the things that she did, it's like, how can I resonate with this lunatic? Because, everyone will say Sam did this, Sam did that, but Sam never tried to kill Tori. When you try to kill someone, that's a little over the top. So going into season 4, I was looking at Anthony, Terry Silver, Miguel, Johnny, Sam. I wasn't looking at Tori. And then I watched season 4, and she's my favorite in the whole season. She was the most improved and arguably the MVP. What did you talk to Peyton?
I'm right there with you. I think she kind of stole the season, and there's a lot of competition in that respect. So I was very surprised to see that happen. But like, I'll also agree with you. Yeah, she was one of the tougher characters to get behind in previous seasons. When I did my last rewatch, though, it's, like, I think about what happened in season 2, and like, in a way, Sam kind of started it all. Like, it's a pretty low to suggest that someone stole your mom's wallet out of the blue like that, just because of who she is and where she comes from and her situation. So
she
like,
did say she would steal half the silverware, though.
She might have mentioned that, but for someone you've never really met before, it's a pretty extreme accusation to make. So I felt a little bad for her in moments like that, and kind of understood why she got as intense as she did. But like, violence and kicking the crap out of someone is never the answer. And she certainly did some pretty scary things in season 2 and 3. And I rolled into season 4 thinking like that brings back the redeeming theme. I didn't know how they were really going to do it with that character, especially because she seemed so closed off from all the people that I thought could nudge her forward. And I never in a million years thought Amanda LaRusso, of
Yeah.
all people, would be the one to see eye to eye with Tori and help her get back on a better path. But like the cool thing is, in describing that, it goes back to what I was saying before. So Amanda helped nudge Tori forward and make her a favorite of season 4. But while that was happening, Amanda needed to hear about Tori's situation so that she could better guide her own daughter and, you know, teach, hopefully, Sam how to better understand someone with a different situation than her.
And who's the guy that informed Amanda, who wasn't trying to fight, who
I
wasn't trying
love
to
that scene.
great. It's the first time you watch it, like you see KREESE come in and you're like, oh, this can't be any good. And then you watch it, but then the more you rewatch it, it's like he goes there with perfect intent. Like,
Yes.
listen, I understand. He even says, you're right. A mother should protect her daughter. He's not defending Tori's actions. He's actually saying, like, Amanda, you are right. Like, I get what you're doing, defending Samantha, but you have to also understand Tori. You know, she's been going through a lot, so you don't help her, but just leave her alone. Just leave her alone.
That was by far one of my favorite scenes of the entire show.
Really.
I love seeing the two of them have that conversation. I love seeing KREESE approach something with, you know, good intentions and it coming from the heart. And then I'm a big Honey Crisp apple fan. So the fact that KREESE approved of those made the scene even better.
Honey Crisp season. That was the whole
An important season.
that was the whole thing that Hayden was mentioning for the past year. So very, very funny. So I think we should just get into the what ifs.
Okay.
Are you down for that?
Oh, I'm so down. I love
Okay.
playing these games.
Okay, so first what if do you have anything, or do you off the top of your head that you want to throw out there, or
I mean, the one that I think I've been thinking about most, just because I asked Peyton the question during Ladies' Night, is what would have happened if Tori joined Miyagi-Do first instead of Cobra Kai?
oh, okay.
And I mean, I'm going to talk myself in circles on the matter because I could see it going a million different ways. What she suggested, which I could see being a possibility, is that, you know, Tori would basically watch them, you know, do all these like slow movements and catching fish and things like that. And she'd be like, this is ridiculous. I'm going to leave. But I don't know, seeing the progress that she made in season 4, it's like when I consider the progress any character makes in any season, I feel like deep down that's always in there. And someone can always pull that out at any time. So if Tori, let's say at the beginning of the show, hadn't had any of the Cobra Kai teachings, the Strike First teachings bleed in, I would like to think that she would be more open to a style like Miyagi-Do. And considering how strong of a connection Daniel had with Robbie when they were first working together, it makes me think that Daniel might be able to talk Tori into, you know, chilling out, having the patience, and being able to learn from Miyagi-Do.
Yeah, those are good points. I
Could
think
just be wishful thinking though, because I want the best for Tori.
no, I agree that you know, I think you can like compare it to a lot of characters, even like a character like Dimitri. Dimitri started off not even wanting to do it. He was very nerdy and quirky. He had no skill. And then, you know, Daniel ultimately like shows him the moves, and then it's like, oh, I could do this. So with Tori, I feel like it'd be a similar thing where it's like, yeah, she's like, I don't need to do this stuff. This is like boring. But then like she has that like, Daniel, show me wax on, like, you know, like kind of proving to her that like, listen, like don't judge a book by its cover. Like, you know, these are skills that could help you. But at the same time, as you mentioned, you know, she had a background where she kind of had to show no mercy to life. You know, life was showing no mercy to her. That was her. That was already existing before Cobra Kai. She had that bracelet already, and she said like she had to like use it against some dude at the mall. Like that was all before Cobra Kai. And then when she first comes into the dojo, can you guys even fight? Like, I like a challenge. She's like, you know, she's tough right from the start. So, you know, but then you have Robbie, who was like a juvenile delinquent. So, you know, anything's possible. It just depends on who's giving her the teachings. Daniel, I feel like would have to kind of like one-on-one with her, you know, not just have her in a class where she's just kind of there. So
Like, I feel like this only could have worked for Tori if she joined up with Daniel before he fully started Miyagi-Do. Like, I think she needed to not necessarily get an extra opportunity to say this is ridiculous and I'm a better fighter than everyone in those early stages. Like, I feel like that would have been a 1-2 punch and like a knockout for Tori in terms of her working with Miyagi-Do, stepping in and seeing the pace at which they trained. And then if she had also joined when, you know, Miyagi-Do was filled with the students who were considered to be not as skilled fighters as the ones from Cobra Kai.
yeah. Do you have anything else on that one?
Not on that one, but because you brought up Dimitri. So Dimitri is actually one of the only people that I thought of that I don't think could have gone anywhere but Miyagi-Do. I
When?
don't I don't think I don't think Dimitri's personality and his behavior that we've seen thus far would suggest that he would tolerate anybody who wasn't a not necessarily by the book, but maybe a more responsible teacher. Like he knew Cobra Kai was bad and he was out. And as much as I love Johnny, like he's all over the place. I feel like he would see that kind like he didn't do the jump across the roof. He knows better than that. So I feel like the only sensei that Dimitri ever would have been receptive to and learned from and grown from is Daniel, and that's it.
I have a good what if. What if Sam didn't make it across the roof?
Oh God. It was a little scary leap there.
Oh my god. It's like I was like, what if like listen, I know it's like, you know, you're teaching like you have it in you. It's possible. You just got to believe in yourself. But like, okay, like what if she actually didn't make it across? What do you tell Daniel?
In real life, there were probably better ways to teach that particular lesson. And I'd like to think that maybe in their reality, the roofs were a little closer than how they looked in the final episode.
Yeah, I'm wondering if like the root if it was like close together and it was like, okay, like this is a makeable jump. It's just you have to be running and confident. I don't know.
I feel like everything about like you're talking to someone who hurled herself off a platform into a chasm and bungee jumped. But like the only reason I can do things like that is because I know that I went to, you know, a legit place that has safety measures. Like I'm a bit of a daredevil, but if Johnny Lawrence told me to jump from one roof to another with like, you know, gross mattresses underneath me, I would draw the line there.
Like, listen, I'll do whatever training you want. I'll do knuckle push-ups. I'll walk on coal, but I won't jump off a roof.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Imagine you made Daniel do that. Do you think Daniel would? No, Daniel would never
No,
do that. Daniel
no,
would
I
never
think he wouldn't do that.
do that.
I mean, I think Daniel would go pretty big. I feel like we did see him embrace some of Johnny's teachings, but I don't think he would do that.
Oh, that hockey fight was insane. That was
Love
the
that.
best. That was one of the best fights, and what I loved about that, and like this is like a shout out to the stunt choreographers of season 4, Donnelly, Ken Bearfield. The whole fight is Daniel grabbing a hockey stick and like beating the crap out of these guys. Like no defense. There was no defense. It was all offense.
That's the
Perfect.
best part of these fights is that they tie right into the story and literally everything these characters have to do to grow. I thought that was the like one of the perfect ways to start the fights in the earlier portion of the season.
Yeah, my favorite moments like during the fight scenes were when you would have people like Johnny fighting Terry Silver and all of a sudden it goes slow motion and the music it's like you hear the flutes, the Mr. Miyagi flutes and
Mm.
then Johnny doing all the moves and then even Robbie in that first episode when he's fighting all the Cobra Kais and you see it cut back to Daniel teaching him. Robbie is ahead of all these kids, all these, even the students or even the teachers like KREESE. KREESE will not embrace anything, but here Robbie is winning the fight because he's using Miyagi-Do. It's like,
Yeah.
just because you don't like Miyagi-Do, he still knows it works. You
I
know?
feel like they're really embracing that idea because they make that comment, towards the end of the season where maybe Robbie will take over Cobra Kai. I don't think that that's out of the realm of possibility. I mean, obviously, Cobra Kai can't continue on the way that it is, but it's very possible that, someone with an understanding of all three forms of karate and how to find that balance could be the one to, restructure Cobra Kai in a way that it could live on but be better. And I feel like Robbie could do that.
Would you be disappointed if like Cobra Kai, like as like a dojo, like the name, because that is the name of the show.
I knew you were going to ask that when you started that. I've thought a lot about that. I've thought a lot about that. I mean, at this point, I would be disappointed if any of the dojos go away. I mean, because I own clothing from pretty much all of them, but I feel
Well,
like
Eagle Fang's done, so I don't know what you're doing wearing that shirt.
not necessarily. That was the spoiler question that I threw to Zabka, because we see where Daniel's head is at regarding the continuation of his dojo at the end of the season. Like, he's ignoring the rules. They broke the rules, so he thinks the bet is off. But like, what does Johnny think? Johnny's priority is Miguel, so we have no idea what he's really planning for Eagle Fang. So if he sticks to Daniel's mentality that the bet is off, because, and also it's going to come to light that they cheated.
Yeah.
So at that point, does everybody, does the door reopen for all of them to ignore the bet entirely and keep their dojos intact?
Well, right now Daniel doesn't even know they cheated. He's just like kind of being a sore loser in a way.
It's only a matter of time. That's going to come out. I'm very curious to see what Tori in particular does with that information.
I wonder how it's going to like affect, like how it's going to have an effect, because, with Daniel and Johnny, I mean, I don't know if that information, other than Tori, like, what are Daniel and Johnny going to be like? Oh, like now we know Terry Silver's more evil. It's like, no, they already know that,
They already know he's evil, but I wonder if them finding out that information and what Terry did, especially if it's combined with Tori coming clean about what happened and explaining her interaction with KREESE and Silver, where KREESE encouraged her to, do what she thinks is right and essentially fight fair. Maybe that'll give Daniel and Johnny the motivation they need to help KREESE. And for all we know, we could see a KREESE, Johnny, Daniel team up. I think it's possible. Because like KREESE is going to have a problem with Silver now, and he's going to want to take him down. And the only teammates in that fight are going to be Daniel, Johnny, and Chozen.
That's what I've been saying ever since season 4. So KREESE has a famous line in season 3, and this is the line I go back to. He says to Hawk, when referencing Robbie, Robbie's joining the dojo, and Hawk's like, "Why are you letting him in? He's the enemy." And then KREESE tells him, "The enemy of your enemy is your friend."
Mm-hmm.
And I go back to that line, just because Silver or just because KREESE's enemies with Johnny, who he's trying not to be, and Daniel, I don't think he'll ever be like buds with Daniel. But at the same time, though, I think there will be some sort of mutual agreement. Like, look, I'm not coming after you, bro. Like, I want to go after him. I want to go after Silver. And I know you do too. So why don't we just both like direct our attention towards there? Even if we're not like, listen, I'm not asking you to train me in Miyagi-Do. Like, KREESE is not doing that.
No.
But they will. I think there will be a reconciliation of some sorts.
I think there's going to be a reconciliation. Considering that, and going back to your original question about would I be cool with Cobra Kai not being in business anymore? Like, I feel like one of the biggest challenges the writers have set for themselves is this idea of, like exploring the idea that not every style of training in every dojo is right for everybody. Like, I feel like by doing that in season 4, they're kind of setting up the idea that they all have to exist. Like, kids need options in order to find the right one. So I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if in the end we actually do have all three. We have Eagle Fang, Miyagi-Do, and we have a better version of Cobra Kai. And I think maybe if that's the end, it starts with Johnny, KREESE, and Daniel seeing eye to eye more than they ever have.
That would be sick.
I feel like,
That'd
again,
be
that
so
is
cool.
me reaching for like the happiness for
Oh
all the
wait,
characters involved.
oh wait, I never thought about that. So you think that that the series will end with Kreese having Cobra Kai, but teaching it the right way? I would love
I've thought
that if they
about
did
that a
that.
lot.
That'd be amazing.
I feel like, man, I was about to say KREESE deserves a win, but I think that's taking a step too far this early in the show's run. But I think they can get to a point where, like, KREESE does earn a win, and maybe he can turn a corner and be a little better. It seems like that's what they're teeing up at this point.
It's definitely what they're setting up, because it's just because, like, listen, even if I don't think they're gonna like necessarily show him being this great guy. He's still Kreese. He's still about no mercy and getting revenge now on Silver. But the fact that we're seeing him go after the bad guy, that makes us root for him.
I feel
Because
like there's a version of the Cobra Kai, pillars too, that can be not necessarily reworded, but looked at in a different way to make them more positive, if you know what I mean. Like,
hug first,
I don't
hug
know,
hard.
like strike first, but you know what I mean?
Strike first, but
there's some
not
sort of
hard.
way where they could keep the heart of Cobra Kai, but I don't know, make it a more positive influence.
Have you ever seen the Koala Kai commercials?
The what?
So Martin Cove
Oh, I've seen those. I've seen those.
with QuickBooks. That's
Yes,
how Cobra Kai
yes.
needs to end. That's how Cobra Kai needs to end. Martin Cove, Kreese opens up Koala Kai.
I mean, there's some like really intriguing meta real world thing that's happening where Cobra Kai bleeds into the real world that I'm kind of liking with that idea right now.
It's so funny. He's like, you see him like, he's acting in this commercial. Support the leg. It's so funny. I love it. I saw a comment earlier that had a good what if that I want to bring
Ooh.
up. I really like this one. So this comes from the very first episode of Cobra Kai. So we're going like all the way back to the beginning. What if Yasmin didn't crash into Johnny's car? That was the whole reason that Johnny went to LaRusso Auto, because he had to go get his car. That's how he met Daniel. And that's what set him off to open up Cobra Kai. So do you think that there would have been an interaction with Daniel, or do you think there would have been something else that would have led him to open up Cobra Kai if Yasmin didn't crash his car? So let's say right now he's at the All Valley tournament and he's drinking and he sees his younger self, Kreese, choking him, but then the car crash never happens.
It's a really great question, and I love revisiting it and having another thing that ties into these two guys just like constantly motivate. Like, nothing that we've seen happen in this show could have happened unless they crossed paths in the ways that they did.
Yeah.
I think that Johnny Lawrence always has, no matter what happens, always has Cobra Kai in him. And if that didn't set that interest off to bring it back, something would have eventually, but who knows how long that would have taken. And I think that him bringing back Cobra Kai is very specifically tied to him seeing Daniel. So it would need to be another situation where the two of them cross paths, which is very specific and limited, I guess, if he doesn't get in the car accident.
Yeah, it's interesting because what I love so much about that first episode, it wasn't just because the first time where he really reminded himself, like, the karate came back into his life was when he beat up Kyler and his gang. He beat the four of them up to save Miguel, and then Miguel's like, "Can you train me?" And he's like, "No." He's still that reluctant hero. And then even when he sees Iron Eagle, no, like the Iron Eagle inspiration, he's driving his car, he sees the tournament. No, it's like none of it. And then yeah, as you said, it's Daniel saying like, I don't blame you for what happened back in the day. Like, Cobra Kai's not here anymore. We're all better off without it. Okay, take care. It was good. It was good seeing you. And this is the best part. It's like the writing is just so good. It's like a little line. Like Daniel's like, it was good seeing you. You look. It was good seeing you. Like he doesn't say you look good. It's just the writing like that. It's great.
Man, it's interesting because when you were recapping, I do wonder if more incidents like that with Miguel could have eventually.
Yeah.
I think if not Daniel, the only thing in the world that could have inspired Johnny to open that dojo was a budding relationship with Miguel and Miguel needing his help. But it still feels like I can't make an excuse for that because all of Cobra Kai is about Johnny and Daniel's. Not all of it is about, but all of it, like the launching point is the history between Daniel and Johnny and what their encounters now mean for their dojos.
Yeah. It's hard for me to think that I mean obviously we know now Miguel and Johnny have such a close bond, but it's hard for me to think that Miguel could have done anything to convince Johnny because he didn't care about Miguel. The first thing he said was watch the car, man. Like they threw Miguel onto Johnny's car. It was like watch the car. And then he tells Miguel he's going to train him, but he's not really he's not focused on like helping Miguel at first. It's more just like, bringing back Cobra Kai and like rivaling Daniel. You have that whole standoff in episode 2. It's more like getting back at Daniel, but then it turns into like helping Miguel. So
it's true. I mean, it's a similar thing with Johnny's teachings in general. Like it was more about him and being cool at the beginning, and he had to take the time and have the experience to realize the value of really training Miguel for other reasons.
Yeah. I see another good question. Aqua Blast 64. What if before the school fight, Sam told Robbie that she kissed Miguel? I actually have an idea for this one.
Okay.
So I feel like if before school, keep in mind it was the night before, so it would have had to been like right before school. I feel like it would have thrown Robbie off, and I feel like maybe he wouldn't have even gone at all. He kind of would have just like ditched, like, maybe he would have been upset. And if he doesn't go to school, Sam and Tori fight. Miguel sees the fight, never sees Robbie, like putting his hands on Tori, and then Miguel stops the fight. And then that's it. Do you think Robbie would have gone to school? He could have also gone to school. I don't know.
That makes sense. I feel like knowing Robbie's reactions to certain things, there's a chance that it depends on how Sam explains it to him. Especially in this last season, she's not really quick to admit when she's wrong. So if she said it to Robbie with even the slightest bit of a wrong tone, Robbie might still get really mad. And then for all we know, he would have walked into school with even more of a mission to beat up Miguel. And maybe
to go after Miguel.
Maybe that would have made the fight even worse.
Oh yeah. Oh, so maybe like I could think of like I'm thinking of like a funny scenario. Like it's like you have like everyone in school, and then you have both Robbie and Tori break into the principal's office, and then they're like, Robbie's like, "Oh, you want to go first?" And Tori's like, "Oh no, I insist, you go first." And he's like, "Oh no, you go first." And she's like, "Oh, thank you, I appreciate it." And she takes the thing, "I'm coming for you, bitch." Like it's like the two of them like together.
I don't know. I feel like it's very easy to imagine it playing out like that.
That fight was one of the best fights. That's one of I think that's probably my favorite finale fight. Just the whole thing.
It's another thing I've been thinking about nonstop. Like what was my favorite finale fight? And I don't think I could pick one because I like at the end of season 2, 3, and 4 in particular, like I love the end fights for different reasons. Like I'm fascinated by the oneer approach to season 2. I think it was just like beautifully shot, and it's not easy to pull something like that off. And you know, the season 3 fight has those kinds of qualities, but what I like about that one most is like how it narrowed the focus to just like the two dojos warring, and being able to see how all of the character beats within the choreography just really enhanced it. Like I like the character beats in that one more, whereas I like the Wonder choreography in season 2 more. And then when I look at season 4 and I see like it's almost like an artistry that's on display with how their training has just made them all wildly talented at karate. And like I feel like that's the reason that I like that. Like that stuff is like it's all good stunt work, but the karate that we see on display in the season 4 tournament is just like peak like pro level stuff.
Yeah, and the writers, it's cool because they mentioned, everyone in season 3 was so skilled. There was nothing really more for them to like learn in terms of like, the underdog. They were all at, pretty expert levels. So I think with season 4 it was really refreshing, especially to have Kenny. Seeing Kenny join Cobra Kai with KREESE, like I'm like, bro, that's me joining Cobra Kai. Like, it's impossible, especially because I was always like, why would KREESE kick out like Bert and all those other kids? Like those are kids that are like making him money, even if they like, you know what I mean? It's like, if you're going to kick out everybody, like, who are you going to accept into the dojo? Like, you're supposed to train kids. So it was nice to have Kenny, who was kind of a weakling, proved himself with that one punch. What does KREESE expect? Does KREESE expect him to be a karate master without any training? That's why he's there.
KREESE's priority is not money, it's winning. So I feel like that's why he'll kick people like Bert out without even giving it his finances a second thought. Man, I love that Kenny stuff so much. When they first introduced Kenny in the show and they started to highlight the importance of Anthony this season, that's when I was basically like, "Whoa, guys, this is a lot of material." And this new material feels very different from the stuff that I had known from previous seasons. I don't know if this is going to work. One of my favorite things in season 4 wound up being the relationship between Kenny and Robbie, and how Robbie never could have made a step forward unless he saw what happened based on his influence on Kenny. That is just genius writing there.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite arcs, was that middle school arc. I thought it was just refreshing just to see a brand new side. Like, and then it was Anthony, who I consider like a new character this season, because also he looks completely unrecognizable from the past.
He grew up.
He grew up. as he told Johnny, it's called puberty. I love that. Wait, are you the son? You switch over to Whopper Juniors.
He's great too. I mean, when you have situations like that where, someone has minimal scenes and one line here or there's always a risk you run in increasing their role and just making sure that they can make the most of it. But he is like, he's excellent. And I can't wait to see what he does as that character continues to grow. And I'm assuming they'll let him, explore his acting range even more. He's great.
Yeah, I was always, from the beginning, I was always a big fan of his character from season 1. I thought he was just refreshing and funny. The one-liners he had were classic. And even if he didn't join a dojo, it was a little disappointing season 2. He barely was in it. Season 3, he was in one scene. That really upset me because I thought he would have a big role. This season, I'm blown away by his role. And you have to remember, this is Daniel's son. And throughout seasons 1 through 4, or 1 through 3, how's Samantha? Where's Samantha? And who better than Julia Macchio to tell her own father?
That scene was excellent. She is very, very good in that scene. I've rewatched that scene quite a few times, and man, her timing and delivery is just spot on.
So why do you love your daughter more than your son?
That's a great storyline to dig into more. The idea, like they're doing it, but even more in the next season, the idea that Daniel can't really connect with him as much as he can connect with Sam. And I want more scenes between between the brother and sister too. I mean, that's like a
I've been
very
saying that.
interesting type of relationship to explore within the context of this kind of karate war.
I've been saying that was the one thing that we didn't get that I hope we get in season 5. We
Yep.
need like just the two of them because all their like now that he's in the story,
Yeah.
like
I
come
was just
on.
trying to think there are, am I forgetting someone incredibly obvious? There are no other siblings in this show. Like, so much of the show is about family, whether it's your dojo family or the family you're born into.
Well,
Well, I guess Tori's got a little brother.
yeah, Miguel might have a stepbrother in the future in Robbie.
Oh, no. That'll be interesting.
That's gonna be scary. Oh god. That's gonna be a whole thing in season 5
Penny's
because
big brother. Now I'm just thinking
Penny's
about all
brother.
the siblings, yeah, but we haven't the point being, we haven't actually really, like, dug into that kind of relationship in this series yet.
And also what's interesting is Sam is dealing with a bully in her own way. And here you have Anthony, her brother, being a bully. How do they connect in that way?
Sam's been interesting this last season. She's
Yeah.
she's crossing some lines. So, actually, this is one of the what ifs that I was thinking of. Like, what if Sam had joined Cobra Kai first? And I think my big theory with that is she would have gone too far down the Cobra Kai path. And she could have ended up, it's not like a one for one comparison with her and Hawk, but I think she could have really done some dangerous things if she had, and like, it's less likely with her when her father is Daniel LaRusso, but if maybe there was some sort of scenario where they weren't getting along and when she wanted to get back into karate just to spite him, she walked into Cobra Kai and started learning at that point. She might have gotten hooked too fast.
I think she would be very similar to Daniel in Karate Kid 3, where, if you had Silver saying like, sweep his leg, she'd be like, isn't that illegal contact? Can I get disqualified? Like she would question it, but then ultimately she would do what she was told. And then it would lead to her being put in situations, real life situations. And just like Daniel, how, he punched that guy in the nose from Karate Kid 3 uncontrollably. She'll be kind of like, just she'll have that mentality, that strike first mentality, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like it's either her getting into it that way, but I don't know. I keep seeing signs of her, almost getting like that high from being the best at combat. You know what I mean? Where she would kind of get addicted to the feeling of winning like that, and she would get so intense about the training and getting the trophy that I don't know. Cobra Kai could put her down a very dangerous path.
Yeah. So another cool what if, this was actually like a lot of people thought this might happen in season 4. It didn't. I think it's possible. Like they might be able to go down this road in season 5. And that's what if Anthony joins Cobra Kai? Because like, his whole family's resenting him. He doesn't belong with Miyagi. Like what if like Terry draws him in and is training Daniel's son? That'd be sick.
I mean, it might be an interesting way to keep layering up these ideas because clearly Daniel's a little sore about Sam having trained with Johnny at all. And that's kind of, not his teammate anymore, but someone he's reconciled with a little at least. But him going over to Terry Silver would be a pretty big blow to Daniel. I don't know if I see Anthony doing that though. I feel like I haven't seen, because like even when Anthony was bullying Kenny, it felt like he was pushing back against his group of friends more so than not. So I feel like Anthony deep down knows where to draw the line. And I feel like he would know that very quickly if he got involved in Cobra Kai and just said, like, this is just flat out wrong. I can't do it.
There was one detail which I really loved in season 4, what they did with his character. And that was, while they were doing the basketball game, Anthony's friend was like, come on, man, bust out some of those Miyagi moves. And Anthony's like, dude, like I told you, like those moves cause permanent brain damage. And, it's like we know he doesn't know it. So the fact that he's like, because that's his father's reputation. Everyone knows him as the karate master. And I love it's kind of like, like he has a father with this huge reputation. Everyone thinks he's going to live up to that reputation. And he's kind of like pretending like he does. But, we know he doesn't. I thought that was a really cool detail to include.
Yeah, I liked all that stuff. I'm kind of hoping though at this point that maybe the two of them see eye to eye in the new season, and I'd kind of like to see Anthony train with Miyagi. Like I feel like that might be the more likely of the bunch if I were to make a prediction right now.
I'm so excited for that. He's a great actor. He's I mean, listen, he looks like Ralph from Karate Kid. So
he's definitely got the look a little.
He's got the look.
Griffin Santa Pietro.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I got his last name right.
Yeah. Anthony, we're rooting for you.
Yes.
So do you have any more what ifs?
I feel like I've thought of so many that now my brain is mush and I can't think of a single one. I think about Kyler a lot.
Yeah, I love Kyler.
I love Kyler too. And this is kind of going back to how we were talking about Kreese and Silver and the idea, how many characters in this series can you redeem ultimately in the end where it still means something? And I don't know, Kyler feels like a straightforward bully to me that his path will never lead him back to the light. But, I do kind of think about what might happen if he had gone in a different direction. But it seems his situation seems too black and white to me. Like he was a bully from the start. He is so drawn to Cobra Kai and that style of teaching. You see him get pumped up every single time he does something bad. I cannot come up with like a reason that makes any sense whatsoever where he would give Miyagi-Do or even Eagle Fang the time of day.
I could give you one reason.
Let's hear it.
And this was the only time where we really got like kind of insight into like why he might be like who he is, a little bit into his home life. Season 3, they're at the what was it, episode 9? They're getting the snake for KREESE, and and he's talking to Hawk. Why'd you forget the snake pawn? Kyler's like, listen, I got a lot on my mind right now. If I don't pass trig this semester, my dad's gonna S in my mouth. So
a random line.
It's such a funny line, but like, think about it like that. Now you have that one line, boom, Kyler's home situation. He has strict parents who, Kyler's a wrestler. He's part of Cobra Kai. He's got a social life, he's got a lot going on, but his parents, you got to pass trig. And he's even actually in season 4, he was talking about college. He's talking about like, like Harvard, like I'm trying to get, my parents want me to get into Harvard, but like, so like, he has a lot of pressure. So that might be like that pressure is kind of, maybe his dad being so hard on him is what, makes him so tough. And then, maybe they use something with that, but I don't know if it might be too many characters to dive into.
It might be. And when you were revisiting that line from season 3, I was about to say something like, which it feels like this to me when I play that episode. Like it's more of a throwaway line rather than something they're really thinking about exploring. But the show has really had a really good track record of taking things that I've thought were throwaway plot points or lines and making something really big and important out of them. So I think you never know.
I mean, we don't know if Kyler passed trig this semester. Like
No.
that's a little disappointing.
I need all the answers.
We gotta ask the writers that ask them if Kyler passed trig. That's a big question. Okay, I have one for you. Okay. What if you, Perri Nemiroff, right now?
Oh no.
Or okay, let's say, what's your favorite like timeline, like season timeline? Not favorite season, but the timeline with the dojos and all that. Like
timeline, like a particular story thread, or like the films versus the show?
In the show, like what timeline did you like with how the dojos were organized, like Johnny's dojo, with Cobra Kai,
Okay.
Johnny's Eagle Fang? Like what timeline?
I'm very, very into the idea that they're exploring right now, the idea that one dojo and one style of teaching doesn't have to be for everyone, and that there's no one right way to teach karate too. So my favorite dojo setup is having Cobra Kai, Miyagi-Do, and Eagle Fang. I like having as much as I want to see Johnny and Daniel work together. I do think that kids in the valley will benefit from having those two dojos as options in addition to Cobra Kai.
Okay. So you're in Cobra Kai season 4. Let's say you're in episode 6. So they just split up. So Daniel and Johnny split up. You have Eagle Fang, you have Miyagi-Do, Cobra Kai. Which dojo do you join? And what is your role? Like, what's your role leading up to the tournament?
Do you know how much sleep I've lost over thinking about this? I obsess over it. It's like I can't stop. I think that I would be very tempted by Cobra Kai because when I do things, I like to be the best. So knowing that they won an All Valley, that they have a chance of winning another, and I'm also very intense. Like if I play a game, I want to play it at the hardest level, and that's what Cobra Kai feels like to me. I think I would benefit the most from Miyagi-Do because I'm a go, go, go kind of person. And I think I like in real life, I need to learn how to like take a breath and have patience and figure out a different way to tackle things. And I feel like Miyagi-Do would teach me that. But I also have a history of siding with the underdogs and going with like the quirkier group of the bunch. So I do think that ultimately I would be an Eagle Fang.
Okay.
I've thought about this a lot clearly. And my role.
So what's your final dojo?
I think my final dojo is Eagle Fang. And I think my role within Eagle Fang, like again, I like to do the best that I possibly can. I like to be a leader. I like to try to win when I can. I would probably want to be like Devin and be their top girl in that bracket and try to win the trophy for them in that division.
Okay. So where did they find you? Like they looked at the soccer field, they looked at the debate. Where would you be?
They found me on the basketball court.
Okay.
100%. I played a lot of sports growing up, but that's where I was most of the time.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool.
It's a good time. I miss it.
I would say if I were in that timeline, I gotta go where Johnny is. I gotta go wherever Johnny goes. So I would go to Eagle Fang because just Johnny is the best, I'd say. And I would I would grow a very good connection with Johnny. Miguel would get jealous. Carmen would get jealous because I'm spending too much time with her man. Me and Johnny are going out for lunch, and then Johnny decides to adopt me as his son. And then me and Robbie become brothers. We get along well, and then Johnny marries Carmen. So now it's me, Robbie, and Miguel. We're all brothers. And
somehow
then
you ended up with like the coolest scenario there.
Yeah, that would be my story. I mean, I think it's pretty realistic. I don't think it's too far fetched. And then Terry Silver would be my father, but that's not that important. So yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry. Terry Silver would be like your actual father in the show?
Yeah, so like probably like season 6, like you get like we're actually having a fight. This is like
Okay.
there's some gaps. So we're having a fight, and then like he kind of like karate chops my hand off, and then he tells me like
I see what you're going for
you
there.
know like you don't know like the truth about your father. I'm like, yeah, like Johnny told me like my father was Mike Barnes, and then he's like, no, like I'm your father. So originally it was supposed to be Mike Barnes.
I really love this story.
Yeah, so that's the story. That's a story.
I'm very impressed by the creativity that you know that's what's going to keep me up tonight. I'm going to think about the scenario and like who I'm related to and specifically how I fell into this and how I, ruin everybody else's relationship only to bring them all back together. I like that.
Literally. It'd be funny if you like went into the universe as a fan, so you already know like all the connections, and then
That'd be a cool thing actually to add to season 5 because they're clearly getting attention. Like they got a lot of attention because of the school fight.
yeah,
Like I wonder if like someone gets added to one of the dojos and then it comes to light that they got involved because they were a little obsessed with what happened and then just exploring that relation. Maybe I just have the new Scream movie in mind, which has a whole lot of meta qualities like that and taps into the idea of fandom quite a bit. So now I want everything to explore that.
maybe there's a character who they're such a fan of the Cobra Kai dojo that they make a YouTube channel about Terry Silver and John Kreese, and then they are like, "Hey man, come into the dojo."
Actually, so I think what it should be is that someone comes in who, just for example, is like a super fan of Daniel, wants nothing more in the world than to go to Miyagi-Do and train with Daniel LaRusso. But somehow on that journey, they come to realize that either Cobra Kai or Eagle Fang is the better teaching for them. And, you come to understand why they thought they wanted one thing, but realized something else was better for them.
So something that I thought was pretty cool, back when season 1 came out, on the official trailer, or I think no, my bad, it was the first teaser I think ever for Cobra Kai, the very first teaser ever for Cobra Kai. I'd already seen the show, but I was looking at the comment section, and in the teaser you saw a kid training with Daniel, and then you saw a kid training with Johnny. But this was the very first teaser, so they did that thing where they had it like bar shots, blurry, so you knew it was Johnny training a kid and then Daniel training a kid. You saw both of that, and there was a comment that what if like both of them are training the same person? This is before we knew it was Miguel and Robbie. Like, what if like it was Johnny's son, and what if Johnny was training his son, and then Daniel was training his son, and he was like getting the best of both worlds?
I think from a story perspective, I think that's a very realistic idea. Like that's what they're playing into right now. Everybody trying to figure out, what amounts of each karate style is best for them. I feel like my behind the scenes, like business-y type brain is telling me don't lean into any promotional material released by YouTube Originals too hard, because all of that is probably not playing into anything with a Netflix show at this point.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea, and I think that is exactly what the show is playing into, one of its like biggest themes at the moment.
Yeah. I do have to say, like, nostalgia wise, like there's something special about YouTube. Like,
I'll always look back at that fondly. The fact that, it was almost like this was the little show that could, because it started over there and not a lot of people were aware of it when it was over there. And YouTube Originals was making some good stuff. I got super into Cobra Kai. And then, did you ever watch that show Impulse that they did?
I'll be honest with you, I just got it for Cobra Kai.
I understand that. It is very good, and it was the show that was it was supposed to be like a spin-off of the movie Jumper. It stars Maddie Hasson. I think it ran for 2 seasons ultimately, but like it was a really, really good, well done, very well acted show. And like YouTube Originals had a rough go, so they couldn't keep it going, and it's unfortunate, but they had some good content over there.
Did you see the Paid Enlist movie, The Thinning?
I did not see that one. It sounds like a horror movie. Is that what that is?
Yeah, I didn't see it either. I want to. It looks good. It's
Thinning.
Her and Jake Paul. I believe it's a YouTube original, and it's like, I don't know if it's horror, but maybe like thriller. I'm not really sure, but it's like kids are like forced to like take a test, or like they die or something.
Oh yeah, that's
like if you don't pass the
test, to me.
If you don't pass the test, you die. It's kind of like Hunger Games, but like taking a test.
I'm a very easy sell when it comes to anything in the horror genre or anything that is Hunger Games like.
Yeah, and Paint and List right there. So
Paint and List. I'll watch anything that Paint and List, and I mean, really, any of the cast of Cobra Kai does, for that matter.
yeah, they're all awesome, and I'm starting
Very
to.
talented.
I want to watch like more movies from them. Like I watched a bunch of Ralph Macchio movies recently. My Cousin Vinny is so freaking amazing. I love it.
I mean, that's a classic. I feel like with the OGs, it's easier to recommend things, but like the kids are just starting their careers right now. It's like when I had Mary on Collider Ladies Night a while back. One of the main things that we talked about was her experience working on Signs, where I think she played the stand-in for Abigail Breslin's character, but
Yeah.
like it's time to see Mary Mauser in more feature films, and like really the whole cast for that matter. When I interviewed Jacob for season 3, we got to talking about a short film that he directed. So I like that's very easy to find on, I believe, on YouTube. So that's something that's worth looking up.
Yeah, Jacob, I think I recognized from like Nickelodeon,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Kirby or Disney, Kirby Buckets, and he
Yep,
was in a
that's
bunch
it.
of stuff.
He's got a pretty long list of credits here.
Yeah, a lot of them are pop up in Nick and Disney, but Cobra Kai is like the big break, especially for Sholo.
Well, wait for Sholo. He is just going up, up, up
Yeah.
right now. I'm so happy for him.
I've said since season 1, I'm like, this dude is gonna have a career because the it's the little it's I call it the Zapka isms. I don't actually call it that. I just kind of made that up. It's like he has the little Zapka isms, which is the always acting, and the little, even when like you're not talking, it's the little like expressions. Like Zapka is the master of it. Like I I I I always go back to my favorite Johnny episode where you can find all the Zapka isms is season 1 episode 6 Quiver, when that's the whole episode where the new students come into the dojo. He's making fun of everybody. He flips the Mitri, and then like Hawk comes in at the end. It's like, the whole thing with um like nice shirt. I'm just joking. It sucks. Or like I
Yeah.
when I look in this dojo, I see nerds. I see losers. I see a fat kid with his tits popping out. Like all those lines. It's just
That's like some of my favorite performance qualities of any actor. It's like when they do something like that, and the way that it happens, the way that it sounds, the way that it looks, you immediately know that nobody else in the world could have done that moment that same way. It is
yeah,
them and them alone. And William Zafka has a lot of those moments. And you definitely see it a lot with the young cast too here.
yeah. And there was like one part in particular, he calls Eli Lip, and then Eli's like, "Can you please not call me that?" And then Johnny has this like awkward smile. He's like, "What?" Like kind of like are you challenging me? But it was like it's a smile. It's like you
Yeah,
can't do
yeah.
it. It's like only like it's just little things, little
Little
eye
nuances all over
movements.
the place.
It's crazy. And also like another thing, like Terry Silver, like I'm curious, like what do you think, like as an actor? You talk to him, he's a very nice guy, and obviously he's playing a character. He's doing like stunt performances. Like we get this, but like as a as nice of a guy as he is, like that scene with Stingray, he had to. It wasn't like a fight scene where, okay, like we're both fighting together. It's like I am going to brutally beat you up, and you're defenseless. What do you think? Like it's like kind of challenging for him as an actor to get into that mentality.
This is why I'm not an actor. I went to film school for grad school, and one of the classes I had to take was directing actors, and in that it was all about learning how to direct actors, but in that class all of us, which were, studying to be filmmakers, had to act and be directed by other people. And the second that happened, I'm like, I don't have whatever, creative component in my body I need to be able to take direction like that. It's not an option for me. But then also I find the idea of putting, like, can you imagine putting yourself like voluntarily in a darker headspace. Like
Mhm.
I spend my life trying to like fill it with love and happiness and things that, brighten my day. But actors, they go to dark places and just have to lose themselves in moments like that so that, it could better serve the material that we love so much. I can't imagine what it must be like to do a beat like that, but he can do it. And in real life, he seems like an absolute joy.
There's that one shot of him. It's my favorite shot from like all of season 4. It's Stingray, telling him like, Silver asks like, "How bad do you want it?"
Yeah.
And Stingray's like, "It's all I want, sir. It's all I think about. Like, I'll do anything, please." And Silver his eyes are like that locked, and he has this maniac smile
Yeah.
growing, and it's like in his eyes, he's not acting. He wants to like destroy this man. He's not acting. I'm like, how do you get into that? You have to completely.
I've got no answers. I think about that a lot because again, I love horror movies so much, and like I've met a lot of horror filmmakers along the way, and it's funny because they'll make the most twisted kind of movies, the darkest things you could ever imagine, but I feel like in real life, horror filmmakers are some of the nicest, most lovely people you'll ever meet. Maybe it's because they get it all out in their films and they're just only left with wonderful vibes after, but like it's something that I'm reminded of time and time again.
Definitely, definitely. Do you want to do a couple more what ifs?
Let's
Are you
do
cool
it.
for that? Okay. Do you have any?
Who have we not spoken about much? I feel like, well, here's a character that's been on my mind a lot, Aisha.
Yeah. Let's talk Aisha. She was my
Interesting.
my biggest reaction in season 4. I recorded all my reactions just for me, just the whatever. I jumped out of this chair and went to the other side of the room. It was like out of anything in that season, she was the biggest surprise
Mhm.
and the biggest like yes moment because I love Aisha. She's
I love
great.
I loved her too. I was really upset when she wasn't part of the show anymore.
I know.
I I always get worried whenever I really want something, like a nod to something or something to come back because like as much as I want it, you don't want it unless you justify it. And so I was really impressed by how they worked in that scene and that conversation between her and Sam when Sam needed it most, but also didn't make it a quick fix.
Yeah.
Like I thought that Aisha was gonna save the day and Sam was gonna be better off but I think Sam heard what Aisha said and I think it's gonna stick with her. But I liked the fact that it wasn't as clean of a transformation based on that speech as I thought it was gonna be at the very beginning.
Yeah. I I'm a little torn because I did like her scene. I actually was in love with that scene because hearing how she moved on
Mhm.
and, still uses Johnny's teachings, like, not just, like, for karate, but, like, for life. That's what Johnny said, like, in the 2nd episode of the whole show, like, these lessons aren't just for karate, they're for life, just as Mr. Miyagi says. So it's like, to see Aisha, like, being probably the only one who, has moved on from that, but remembers those teachings, that was pretty powerful. However, I am such a fan of her character that I want her to be in the main story. I know I don't know where it would be, but like, Johnny's recruiting Eagle Fangs. Like, come on, Aisha, come back.
I want her to also in trying to read that scene, it felt like a little bit of we know you miss her. So
Yeah.
we want to, give her a meaningful moment, but it felt to me like they were closing the door on that.
No,
Like
I hate that.
she's moved on and she's okay. And I'm glad that I know she's okay, but I still miss her and I still want her to
I
come back.
know. I know, me too, me too. And it's like I do understand that Aisha has always been kind of the voice of reason. So it's like here she's moving away from the drama. But I mean, listen, she participated in that school fight. She was always in the drama, you know.
She
I
she was in the drama, but I feel like everything we saw her do playing this what if game right now, I think she would have been okay no matter what dojo she joined. I
yeah.
feel like she just had the mindset and the ability to be receptive to any style of teaching and ultimately in the end would have figured out a way to grow with it like she did with Cobra Kai.
That's a very good point that you bring. I think out of anybody in the show, anybody,
Huh.
I think she would have been the most adaptive. Anybody, because she never had anything bad against Mr. LaRusso and his teachings,
Now that
right?
you say that, I can't think of a single other character that I would say that for all three dojos.
Yeah. She would be fine with anything.
Hmm. I believe that. I'm trying to think of even one more character that I think would have excelled in any of them. Maybe Miguel. Maybe Miguel.
No, but Miguel was like so when he was talking to Sam, like so like he was so he was like open to Miyagi though, but he was kind of like, but like our style's more badass. He was like, he was training with Johnny since the start. He was kind of like always on that, like, oh, you trained in a pond, how cool. But he
I
got into it.
I guess if we're also only playing the what if game with the starting point, Miguel needed Johnny to get into it. So
Yeah.
maybe Daniel couldn't have been step one for him, or it wouldn't have been as successful as a run
No,
for him.
no, because well, Miguel was being bullied, and Daniel's advice is no, be there. Like, that's not really an option sometimes. Like, I don't know if like actually that's interesting. What if Miguel started off with Daniel? Do you think that would have like, he was being bullied? Do you think that would have helped him? Do you think he would have still beat up those bullies in that fifth episode all by himself?
No. I
No,
don't
right?
I don't think Daniel ever would have done anything that would make him think the right next move is to fight back.
Yeah.
So, like he might have had a pretty rough run because of it until I think it would have just like the big difference between Miyagi-Do and the other styles of teaching is that I feel like Miyagi-Do takes more time. But ultimately, you can end up with similarly effective tools to deal with whatever you're going through. So I feel like Miguel would have gotten there. And also, like, Miguel just seems so pure of heart. I think he's just deep down such a good guy that he would have given anything a shot.
I agree. I agree. It definitely would be interesting though, going back to Aisha to see her with Crease and Silver. We saw her with Crease a bit, but like Crease and Silver, very evil. I
If
think
she
she would have.
never, if she never left town, I feel like if she left town and came back, she would have been like, no, like,
Yeah,
Silver, you're pushing it. I'm going to one of the other dojos. But if she never left town and we didn't know what we know now of where her character's at, would she have continued on with Cobra Kai?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I guess I don't think so either, but I feel like my opinion on the matter is being influenced by where I know she wound up. Because it's like if we could rewrite the story after the fight in the school in season 2, like I think you could write an interesting story with her going down the path that we see her go down in the show now, or maybe being fired up and angry about the whole situation.
Yeah, so that's actually what I thought, because at the end of season 2, you watch season 2 and you get to the end where Johnny walks into the dojo and sees Kreese took over. You see Hawk, you see Tori, you see Stingray, and you see a couple other people. But then you see not all the students are there. A couple of the main students missing are Bert and Aisha. And I'm like, okay, those two characters were actually always pure of heart, and they wouldn't want to go against Johnny like that. Aisha would never go against Johnny like that. That's why I thought she wasn't
Yeah.
there, because she didn't believe that Kreese taking over was the right thing. So I was like, oh, that's a great setup for season 3, and then boom, we find out she's
Well,
not in it.
I
So it
think
was
that's a pretty spot on analysis, though. I don't think Aisha ever would have tolerated a KREESE or silver-led Cobra Kai. Like she's just
Yeah.
another one who knows where to draw the line at a point.
Yeah, she might like run with it for a little bit, but then like
She would know better.
she would know. Especially, I think if that whole school fight happened and Kreese took Cobra Kai away from Johnny, she would have never went with that. Johnny was her first teacher.
She had loyalty too. She
Yeah.
definitely was very loyal to him, and I think she took that seriously. Man, now I'm wishing even more that we got more Aisha
Me
story.
too. It's the whole purpose I think was to really focus on the Sam and Tori rivalry, which is great, but it's like, it's their characters uprising at another character's expense, which is unfortunate, you know?
I don't know if they would ever do it, but there's like a really interesting, short story to explore where we get to see what happened to Aisha after the fight and the kind of like how she received the conversation with her parents about moving away. And I don't know. I would love to know how she found peace with everything she went through.
Why don't you think they brought her back as that girl? Because like, that could have been a great storyline. They're looking for a new girl champion, Eagle Fang.
Oh, like bringing her
Aisha.
in for the Devon position?
I love Devin, don't get me wrong, but like, it's like they kind of I know she moved away, but like, there could have been what do you think they're just done with the character in
Yeah.
terms of like, oh,
I think she's moved on, and I think it's okay because they gave her a beautiful scene that at least lets me know in my head that she's in a good place and she learned the lesson she needs to learn from her experience. But now that you say that, I think what could have been a good writing idea is some sort of throwaway line, like what about asking Aisha to cut? Like, why am I thinking that something like that happened at a point? Like asking about Aisha, but Aisha is not in town anymore.
yeah.
A line like that could have worked.
Another what if that I want to bring up to you, and this is something that I've thought of real hard, and I feel like this is one of the biggest missed opportunities with season 4. And I feel like the reason they didn't do this was because of time, because they had so much going on. But I think this would have added, it would have just made sense. I think going into the season, it just made perfect sense. Miguel, he has his whole injury, that's his thing, right? You know, Terry Silver has a whole class on weakness, finding your opponent's weakness and exploiting it. Terry Silver's main lesson is man can't stand, he can't fight. Miguel is someone who could barely stand. So it's like, I'm sure Kreese knew about the injury. The students knew about the injury. Why wasn't it a plot line? I know that Cobra Kai, we didn't see Cobra Kai fight Miguel in the tournament, but they could have mixed it up story-wise for him to fight someone. Why not make that a plot line where Cobra Kai is intentionally, because of Silver, going after Miguel's injury? It would have added so much more drama and stakes. And then also another thing is I was a little disappointed with him spinning and hurting his back on his own, and then the next episode, oh no, it was just a little bruise. It kind of felt like a cheap, like, oh man. But I feel like a solution to that would have been an easy solution to that would have been Cobra Kai intentionally injures him. So we're like, oh my God. And then it's like, we find out, okay, he didn't get hurt too bad. So it's like, okay, Cobra Kai wasn't successful. But with this, it was kind of like he's fighting Eli and he hurts himself on his own. So you really think it's a big deal, but it wasn't. So what? I know I just threw a lot at you at once. What do you think about that?
That moment is definitely like a device to get a certain kind of reaction out of you and think in between episodes that something terrible and catastrophic has happened. And it worked on me. I was freaking out when that happened. I thought that was it again. I think they might, this is just speculation. I think they avoid going down a path like that because it's especially dark. Like I thought that they handled Miguel's injury and his recovery very well, because part of me went into the next season thinking, well, how are they ever going to get me to believe that he fully recovers and can ever fight again? That was like a really serious injury he had there.
Yeah.
But they did it. And I feel like if they ever did it to him again, that might have to be it. But one missed opportunity story-wise that I think could have been really interesting to explore is not necessarily, not necessarily Terry Silver looking at it as a physical weakness for Miguel. I don't know if you've ever injured yourself when playing a sport, but whether you recover physically fully or not, it gets in your head and you wind up being afraid of doing certain movements. So,
Yeah.
and we know that Terry Silver has a habit of getting into people's heads. So teaching his students ways to manipulate Miguel in that respect could have been very interesting and different from what we've seen Cobra Kai stoop to before.
Yeah. Instead of physically fighting,
Yeah.
you
And it
know.
probably, like, I feel like Terry's also a very like pragmatic cheater. Like, if I feel like he knows how far to push it, what he can get away with. And
Yeah.
maybe going after Miguel's injury when that school fight was like, and what happened to him was news and everybody was aware of it, it would have been too obvious and he would have been in trouble right on the spot and never gotten away with his big master plan.
Yeah. And it all goes back to the little like acting things. I did a lot of pausing at the tournament, especially when Robbie did that kick on Kenny. That brutal final kick where
Mhm.
he just flat out kicked him in the face. I paused it where you saw Terry Silver's reaction. Like how would Terry Silver react to that? Because that's a dark kick. I think he I forgot exactly. You saw a little shock on his face. He wasn't like, I think KREESE was pure like, but in that scene, Kenny was being coached by Silver. They kind of
Mhm.
split them up, so it was a little shock. So interesting to see like what he feels about those things, because you have KREESE who doesn't even care really that Kenny, even though that's his own student. So
I don't remember if I kept this in the video version of Ladies Night with Peyton. It might only be in the audio version, but we got on the topic of talking about what it's like being a background performer in scenes like the All Valley scenes. Cause, like so little of it is focused on one character, but they're all standing around the mat the entire time. So they have to be on and acting through all of those scenes, whether they're the centerpiece of them or not. And I was asking her about just like having the stamina to stay in that headspace for so long. And she was telling me like they were definitely like messing around at a point. So I keep meaning to go back and look in the background of all the tournament scenes and see who I can spot, like, I don't know, poking someone else or trying to make them break or something like that.
that's a great question. So like she was saying they were just like kind of like while they were filming, they were joking around though.
I think so, like kind of tempting each other to break and like laugh or something. So I'm basically determined to find one instance of someone doing that now.
That'd be fun, just like
I bet it's
being
there.
being at the tournament, just like background acting. Like you're just like you're really like they like what it's like when you're filming a scene. You have like I feel like the tournament's like the most interactive you're gonna get.
Mhm.
It's like the thing is actually playing out. People are actually fighting. You're actually reacting. So
You are and you aren't.
yeah,
It will never cease to amaze me what it can take to film, 3 seconds of a TV show when you're physically there on set. It can just take so long and we see the finished fight, but setting up wire work will take half a day or something like that. It really like if you ever want to just appreciate every single position on a crew and just like every ounce of time and energy that goes into filming even a single scene in an entire series, just I don't know, go watch some like B-roll or I mean sign up to be background on something. It's a fascinating experience.
yeah. Matt Lewis, who is the actor of Ron, the All Valley president, he mentioned that during the season one tournament, they were filming the whole tournament, and then there was a point where they paused, they would stop filming, and they got like the B team in, or what is it called? Like they got like another crew in.
The B team. Like, are we talking about actors or crew specifically?
It was like crew and actors. So I'll explain it. Maybe like
It could be second unit.
Yeah. I think that was the term he used. So it's like they're filming the All Valley tournament for season 1, and then they like did some sort of pause, and they had the second unit come in, put down some red mats, and they got a Johnny Warren stunt double, and they did the scene from the very first episode where it's just zooming in on his back, then the new footage. And it blew my mind that, like, I knew that was new footage, but it blew my mind that was filmed in between the All Valley tournament. All they did was just put down a red mat. They filmed that, and then they left. That's it.
Movie magic is endlessly fascinating to me. That's like, hands down, no matter what I'm covering, my favorite question to ask is like, tell me something movie magic wise that made you go, I can't believe this is what it takes to make it look like that on screen. And you will, like, it doesn't matter if it's like a quiet drama or Cobra Kai, you will get an interesting answer from everyone out there.
Yeah. And especially with Cobra Kai, because they deal with so much.
They did. And especially with what you just referenced, like that's another thing that they did that, I don't know, just made me like stop dead in my tracks and say, that is a genius idea to connect this with the past material. You guys nailed it.
Yeah, they definitely do a great job of that. Do you want to do one last what if? The one?
Let's do it.
We could take one from the chat if you want.
Sure.
So, chat, we're looking for some what if scenarios. Thank you all for joining again. We really appreciate you all being here. Hope you're enjoying the conversation. So, give us any what if scenario from seasons 1 through 4, or maybe 5.
Predictions for 5.
Predictions for 5. What if this? What if there? It's as you said, it's tough to do these. You have to really kind of clear your mind because you know what's going to happen. So if you're doing a what if in season 1, you have to really clear your mind.
Yeah, and restart. Like start with a clean slate there.
Yeah. Okay. Let's wait. Yeah.
I see one that caught my eye because I've been thinking about that a lot. What if Eli's hair wasn't cut off?
Ooh, like would he have won the tournament? All that.
I asked Jacob that back.
It's a great question.
During season 3, when we, got our first taste of him turning and going to the light. And I think the question I asked him was, can he be Eli but still have the hawk look?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember what he told me back then, because I don't even think he knew at the time. But I think about that a lot now. I'm kind of sad that they got rid of I thought he was a very cool looking character. It had the intended effect on me. And it's one of the reasons why he very quickly became one of my favorite characters to watch. So while I was sad that they cut off the hawk, it feels necessary to me for him to move on. And someone pointed this out to me fairly recently, but he doesn't have the mohawk anymore, but he still has the hawk tattoo, and that will be with him forever. So I feel like the removal of the hawk, but keeping of the tattoo is like kind of encapsulating the idea that, he can still use his past teachings to be the best karate student he can be, but he needs to, make room for change going forward. So basically, to answer the what if he kept the hawk, I don't think he gets as far in the tournament. Like, I feel like the removal of the hawk was necessary to, clear a path for him to learn other necessary things.
I agree. And also, I don't know if he would have joined Miyagi-Do. Because you think he would have stayed with Eagle Fang?
I do.
Despite Dimitri, because Dimitri would still do that same attempt with the binary brothers.
He was like,
you don't think so?
Eli would it have called for it? Like, Eli was sad. He needed a pep talk because of what happened to him. It's like knowing Dimitri, he probably would have, you know, swooped in at the right moment to tell Eli what he needed to hear one way or the other. But that particular conversation that made such a big difference to Eli, there would have been no reason for it.
Yeah. Do you think he would have tried to get him to come to Miyagi-Do though? Would he have been upset? Probably.
I
Because
don't
oh,
know.
he would have because he didn't know that Eli dropped out of Eagle Fang. He like when in their first conversation, Dimitri was like I can't believe you decided to join Eagle Fang, and he's like, listen, bro, I'm not in any dojo. So he would have been upset at that and wanted him to come to Miyagi-Do. Would he have gone as far as the Binary Brothers video? I don't know.
So the thing with Dimitri is he's only ever been encouraging to Eli, but he's never actually done anything to push him towards one dojo or another. So I don't know if Dimitri would ever have influenced Eli in terms of which dojo he was a part of. Like I feel like his advice and his attempts to steer him in a good direction have always been like just deeply personal and between the two of them as binary brothers rather than dojo allegiance.
So you don't think he makes the I would say probably. I mean, I don't know. I think it's possible. I don't know. Does he still fight Miguel? Like how is the
No.
bracket gonna work?
Oh my
No,
god, this changes everything.
it does. I don't like. Okay, let's say. Okay, all right. I think he's guaranteed semi. So let's have Robbie, Dimitri, Miguel, and who am I missing? Hawk.
Yeah,
Hawk.
yeah.
Hawk. So Robbie, Dimitri, Miguel, Hawk. Let's change it up. So let's put Miguel against. But then like it's like does
We don't
Miguel
have
still?
to. We don't even have to change it up.
So you're saying,
Two people from the same dojo could fight.
but then does the same thing happen where Miguel hurts his back? What if they do that fight? Miguel wins, right? I would say Miguel wins that.
Miguel wins. If Miguel didn't hurt his back, he'd win the fight against Eli.
I think so. I think so. Because he's never lost.
He's never lost, but
And he's never lost to Hawk too.
Eli was in the so he never lost to Hawk when he had the physical skills that Cobra Kai gave him, but he wasn't in the right headspace to be a winner. Now he's got both. He's got the skills and the headspace. So I feel like no matter what, it would have been Hawk's time to shine.
You think Hawk would have beat Miguel?
Yeah, I think I do, because I think that ultimately Miguel was also very distracted. And his heart wasn't into it anyway. Injury or not, he didn't have that same fire in him to win as he did in the past.
Yeah. He didn't. He was affected by Johnny.
But it's like if Hawk kept the Hawk, I think he would be an Eagle Fang. And then all of a sudden the numbers for which dojo could win the tournament are all out of whack.
It all changes. It's crazy. And then okay, so then Hawk gets to the finals. Does he beat Robbie though?
Yeah, I still think Hawk wins. He's so good. He's so good. And I feel like Hawk's only like downsides before were like him like kind of psyching himself out with his own confidence. Like he was overconfident in himself. I don't know. I still feel like Hawk never could have been a champion at Cobra Kai. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the lesson of all of Cobra Kai. It's like it's not just about strike first. It's also about being centered. And now that Hawk had some Miyagi-Do teaching in him, he had it.
Yeah. Well, in a way, like I think Robbie, Robbie definitely would have won if the only reason he didn't win was because he got distracted with Kenny. Remember he was like gonna get that punch on Hawk, and then he sees Kenny like whoa, like Kenny's yelling, and it's like it psychs him out. No, he was 1 point away, but still Hawk deserved it though. I will say that.
Oh,
Hawk
he so deserved it. That was one of my favorite moments of the whole season. I've been rooting for Eli since day one. I I know he did terrible things, but I really wanted to see that character make a comeback. And even though I've been rooting for that since the beginning, I guess still could never have imagined as strong and satisfying of an arc than what they wound up giving us. They nailed that.
And then the kiss with Moon, like I love that.
Made me so happy.
I know.
Finally, they're back.
I hope they're back. I mean, we don't really know if they're like back together.
I feel like they are. I feel like the two of them are a good. I mean, she in particular is a very good influence on him, and I want him to still have that in his life.
Yeah, I love like the way he delivers the line. Like, I lost my confidence. Like, just I don't know, just like seeing like Eli just down in the dumps, and then that one kiss. Like, I know who I am now. I'm the guy who's gonna win this whole effing thing. And then literally 3 points on Kyler like that. Like, easy money.
Lots of little random things in life give you a boost in confidence when you need it most, and you could feel like a completely different person. So I totally bought it.
Definitely. I think we can do what if scenarios like forever. There's never a ending for the possibilities.
I mean, there's never an ending with the possibilities, but I really do think they're this much fun to talk about because the story is so rich because of the show that they created and how good the writing is on it. Otherwise, like, these would be really boring, but there's so much like meat to work with, and it's fun to think it through.
And we're gonna have a couple more main characters in season 5. For sure, we know Chozen is gonna be a main character.
Yes.
That's a whole nother element. That's 5 original cast members that are gonna be at the center, and possibly 6 if you know where I'm getting at.
Yeah, I do.
Karate Fat Boy.
I think it's gonna happen.
It's gotta happen.
Yeah.
It's gotta happen.
It seems too obvious to me at this point.
The John, Josh, and Hayden, they know what they're doing.
They do.
Terry Silver, he didn't need to say, "Don't worry, I'll dig up an old friend or two to help out with Cobra Kai."
And there's no other old friend who would be
not.
that satisfying of a payoff to see in the flesh in Cobra Kai than him. So I think it's like I'm pretty much convinced. I try never to convince myself that my theory is going to come true because I like to have realistic expectations and not disappoint myself because I sit here theorizing all day. That one I can't quite shake, though. It feels like it is a done deal fact going to happen.
And Sean Kanan is a badass. So I'm excited to see him come back.
I'm all for that. I love how every single time they bring someone back, it's not even just the excitement of the character coming back, but also just a reminder of how good these actors were all along since day one.
Yeah. And he does martial arts in real life, the actor
Yeah.
for Mike Barnes. So it's not like, it's just another actor coming back. Like this dude knows how to fight.
Yeah.
He really
I
knows
need to see that. I need to see that on screen in the show.
him. Oh my God. The Amanda line sums it all up. How many like old like tell me this is the last bad guy from your past? And Daniel's like, I think so. Wait, maybe not. It's like
her one-liners are still the absolute best.
It's like, how is she gonna react when just imagine like your husband has it's like, oh, this guy from my past, like, oh, this guy tried to kill me from my past back in 84, this guy from 87. Like,
it is a pretty big deal wondering how Amanda's going to react to everything. It's like she was so focused on the Tory of it all in season 4, but she's heavily involved in the dojo war at this point. So what is her role next season? Like, we don't even know what the shape of the dojos is. So it's hard to figure out what her role is going to be in it. But like, it feels like she needs to get more involved in Miyagi-Do. I don't mean just like involved in, Tori's situation or like being a mother to Sam or anything I mean, involved in the running of Miyagi-Do to an extent.
I want Carmen to get more involved because now that Miguel's away, it's setting up something for her to be on her own, because Carmen, I felt like, her arc was always tied with Johnny and Miguel. Like give her a little independence, have her do something, like have her pull an Amanda where she confronts Terry Silver, like, slaps him in the face, something like that. I don't know.
I'm so curious to see what they do with that. So like structure wise, like my mind immediately goes to this idea that maybe that means less Carmen and there's some sort of, other story. Like we've got, the kids in the valley training, and then we have Johnny and Miguel off on their own, secondary storyline, and they're away for something like 3-4 episodes and then they come back. But I'm also thinking, with all of Sholo's other gigs, like what if this was done so he could be doing something else, and we don't really come back to Miguel full force until the next season. But like, I'm saying that without having done any research in terms of like production schedules or anything like that. But I don't know, just because I know he's so busy right now, I feel like it's on the top of my mind.
I think they were definitely rushing the filming of season 5 before, because I think Blue Beetle starts like this beginning of this year, so they wanted to finish season 5, which I'm glad they did.
It makes sense. I mean, it's a smart move if that's why they filmed them back to back like that.
Yeah. And I have one more question for you, because we were talking about how they introduced so many characters in season 4, like how they were going to be able to manage it, which they did. The next concern for me, which we know they're going to handle it because they handle everything beautifully, but it's also a matter of how are they going to handle it. Terry Silver, I'm going to open up Cobra Kai dojos all over the valley. And, you have the old Cobra Kai dojo shut down. So that's out of the picture right now. We know he's going to bring back the original dojo. So where do you think, like, if Mike Barnes comes back, if Dennis comes back, if Terry Silver is in the picture, Kenny, Kyler, where's the focus for Cobra Kai going to be? Like, if Cobra Kai is expanding, do you think we're going to go to multiple locations, or do you think all our kids, Kenny, Kyler, Tori, they're going to be at one? Where's the focus? Because I'm wondering about that.
Very, very good question. I mean, the two options here are there's a time jump type scenario. I'm wondering if when we return, we see Cobra Kai as a franchise up and running already, or if there's still work to be done and that's how they keep them all together in one spot. But if they've already closed down the main dojo, I am inclined to believe that Terry Silver has already been working behind the scenes to get these branches up and running. Man, I don't know. Like they have to all be together. It's like, it doesn't matter how many times this show does this, and it doesn't matter that they proved me wrong in season 4 with me having some hesitation with seeing so many storylines and characters involved. But I'm afraid of the idea of having too many Cobra Kai locations and wondering what all of the main students' different roles could be in them.
Yeah. It'd be a little confusing.
A little confusing, but I mean, now that I'm saying, it's like, I need to ask myself, what is the purpose of keeping our main Cobra Kai students in one dojo being taught by a certain someone? Whether it's, Mike, Terry, whoever's in charge of the teaching in that particular location. But I feel like Robbie in particular, and maybe Tori, don't have much more to learn from being all together like that. So it feels like they're going to be challenged to take on leadership roles. And maybe Robbie is in a position like how we were talking about it before, where he makes the most of it and he can change Cobra Kai. And maybe Tori in her leadership role struggles with the knowledge that they were only built up and they're standing on a lie.
Yeah. I agree that I think Tori is going to take like that sensei role next season. I don't know about Robbie. I feel like Robbie's done with Cobra Kai because of Johnny. What do you think?
Another question that I asked them at the junket after having that conversation. Can Robbie still be Cobra Kai? And like, again, I keep going back to this idea that one dojo and one style of teaching isn't right for everyone. And like, Robbie is in the perfect position to better Cobra Kai just because he is Johnny Lawrence's son. He's learned from Daniel. He's made his mistakes in Cobra Kai, and now he can change it from the inside out. It feels like that's Robbie's path. And I also feel like it could better Robbie as a person if he takes on a leadership role in Cobra Kai and learns more responsibility that way. So I think I'm keeping him there for now.
Yeah. But how would Johnny feel about that? How would
I
Johnny
think
feel?
Johnny's very distracted right now. I
Do
think
you,
Johnny's focus is Miguel.
do you think Robbie's going with Johnny to find Miguel? Because there's some theories, there's some speculation.
Wait, that Robbie is going with Johnny?
There's some theories. There's some theories that Robbie is gonna take a father-son trip.
I wouldn't mind seeing that happen, but if I were to guess right now, I would say no. I
I
feel
would
like Robbie's focus is elsewhere.
I would just want to see the two of them on like on a car ride, like a road trip, and like both of them are like arguing about like what song they're putting on, like like finding out each other's music tastes, or like Johnny, like Johnny doesn't know too much about Robbie, and he's also like trying to figure out like how to be like kind of the father. So he's like, so what's your favorite color? Just like like
Here's the question
awkward.
you would ask him.
It's like awkward, like I don't know. It's like, oh, like you know you like pizza. I don't know.
I feel like these are the exact kind of questions he would ask him.
Like, that would be perfect. A kayaking trip, like where they're both like forced to be with each other in an enclosed space, or on a
They're
boat.
trapped somewhere.
They're trapped somewhere and they have to talk to each other and bond. That would be very funny.
I would be all for that. I feel like we do need some father-son bonding time. It feels like that can't happen until Johnny reconciles with Miguel though, and they figure out their relationship.
It's just going to be interesting, if Johnny or if Robbie does want to reconcile with Johnny, he has to figure out like, okay, like how am I going to get along with Miguel? And also Robbie doesn't know that Johnny's hooking up with Miguel's mom, that possibly step bros, he doesn't know that.
And then throw in the fact that I don't think Miguel can figure his relationship with Johnny out until he figures out his stuff with his own father.
That's a whole
lot of stuff that's intertwined here.
His father, that's going to be a big part in season 5.
Very curious to see how they work that in, because it's gonna just like tonally and setting wise, it's gonna feel very, very different from what we know from before. I'm just very curious from a creative perspective how they wind up making that work. I've got full faith that they're going to do it, but I'm curious to see how different it winds up feeling.
It's interesting because it's like, in a way, it's not it's not Cobra Kai anymore. This storyline, or at least that storyline, has nothing to do with Miyagi-Do, has nothing to do with Cobra Kai, nothing to do with Eagle Fang. We've spent 4 seasons developing these characters, being invested in them. Now they're on their own journey. These are about this storyline is about the characters. It's not about the dojo. It's not about the karate war. Actually, I do think there will be a lot of karate, but
that's the thing though. It's like, maybe it's mostly about them as people and them, hashing out some personal issues, but it's still always about karate and the karate war. It's like they're only in the positions they're in today because of the karate war that they've experienced before. Like it's such a smart show. It's such a smart, well-structured show because it all matters together. One piece would never work without the other.
Yeah. And it's great that they, cast these young actors. So, Miguel, just seeing his like physical appearance in season 1 compared to season 5, it's like these guys have really grown on the show as people, as martial artists. It's amazing. It's
really
great progression.
I love seeing it, and I kind of love having, been a teeny tiny little part of it from the very beginning. It's very exciting to, I don't know, think about the YouTube days and who was part of the community and just watch that community grow, and I don't know, the celebration gets stronger. It's really awesome.
If Johnny Lawrence was real, you and like you were telling him about the show Cobra Kai. It's like, hey Johnny, there's a show Cobra Kai on YouTube Premium. What's a YouTube Premium? It's a subscription service. You could find it on the internet.
I think you're onto something. I feel like Netflix should whip up that kind of ad to promote the next season.
They gotta use Johnny more. Like they gotta use Johnny for advertisements. And Zapka needs a freaking Emmy. He needs an award.
He's so good. Have you
Give
ever
him
seen
something.
that short film that he wrote?
I didn't. What?
Man, it's you can find it. You can find it online. The name of it's escaping me right now, but it was nominated for an Oscar, and you can definitely see and understand why when you watch it. But I feel like nobody looks at William Zabka as an Oscar-nominated short film writer, and it's something else.
Yeah, that's awesome. That
it's called Most. That's what it is. Most.
And where do you watch it?
Man, I feel like I either watched it on YouTube or maybe it was on Vimeo. I could find it though.
All right, I definitely want to check that out. I want to watch more of Zapka's stuff. That was what inspired John, Josh, and Hayden to make Cobra Kai was seeing Zapka in all his different projects playing the bully. They loved Zapka.
I don't blame them. he's got that he's got that inherent charm to his work as an actor that, you know, it's like something you can't study and learn or train to do. I feel like it's something naturally in him that just makes him pop on screen in his own unique way that nobody out there can replicate.
Yeah. And the most unique scene, the most creative scene from season 1, just the flipping the whole story. Like Johnny telling Miguel, you know, the events from the Karate Kid. Here I am minding my own business at the Halloween dance, and the guy sprays a freaking water hose on me. I haven't seen him in months. He sprays a water hose. It's like, love it. It's just, you know, I'm trying to talk to Allie, have a civil conversation, and the guy butts in. So what do? I defend myself, and he sucker punches me. And Miguel's like, "What an asshole!" And then
he's not wrong. He's not wrong. That's like the most exciting thing about any story out there. I'm fascinated by other perspectives of stories that we think we know well.
Everything he said was right. He didn't make up anything. It was just from his perspective.
And it's wild to me that, I mean, this is from years ago now when they started with season 1, but I still cannot believe I got a Cobra Kai show that makes me go back and rewatch the original Karate Kid, which I had seen countless times before Cobra Kai started, and look at a movie that I've seen maybe 100 times and watch it in a completely different way. That is a real achievement that does. I mean, I was about to say that doesn't happen very often, but I can't really think of a single example to that extent where that's happened to me.
Yeah. And final question, because we haven't talked about this, so I got to ask you, yes or no, Julie Pierce in season 5?
No. Wait. Again, I don't want to doubt them because I know that they can juggle a lot and justify it all. But it feels like the next season is the Mike Barnes season. We've got CHOZEN coming with a big role. We've got more kids in play now. We could potentially have a storyline taking place in a different location. That's a lot. That's a lot of stuff I just ran through right there. And you need to justify that return, especially. And it, you know, I don't know how many seasons at this point they're, you know, what did they say? A 6-season arc for the show was what they originally had in mind? At least 6.
So maybe 7.
I mean, they could, you know, they could go on and on if they found reason to do it. But I don't know. Her return makes me feel like a series finale kind of thing, or maybe not a series finale, but like the season before bringing it all back together with the main Cobra Kai characters. But anyway, not yet. I feel like we're waiting a little longer for that.
I've been back and forth with it because, you know, there is reason for her to come back, which is why I've been saying it is possible because, you know, Daniel's recruiting help, and, you know, she is what she trained directly with Mr. Miyagi. Just because CHOZEN learned Miyagi-Do trained with Mr. Miyagi. She was the only other person to.
I wonder if the reason to bring her in is going to be that one of Daniel's students needs her, like needs something different that he can't give. Like I feel like the chosen thing is very much going to be a straightforward team up and like reshaping Miyagi-Do to be able to, you know, I don't know, save the day for lack of a better expression. But when it comes to bringing her back in, it needs to be like for a more specific reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Daniel did say in season 2 when they were learning the wheel technique, he said it's been a while since his dojo had more than one student, implying that at some point there were 2 students, Daniel and Julie.
I like that thought.
I don't know.
I like that thought. I hadn't considered that.
So maybe they definitely met. Would you agree that they've met in the 30 years and they have a connection?
It makes so much sense. It only makes sense to me that they've met, because it's not like Daniel had his run with Mr. Miyagi and then moved on. Like Miyagi was very clearly a big part of Daniel's entire life from the moment they met until when he passed away.
Yeah.
And if Mr. Miyagi had another student that was very important to him, I feel like it was inevitable that they would have crossed paths at one point or another.
Oh, you know what's a good point that Vincent brings up? Miyagi's funeral. They must have met.
Oh, that's a good point.
They must have.
At least then.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say they've met before.
I agree.
But then they maybe saw each other again there.
And I agree with you. I think as much as I want to see it, I'm going to say season 6.
I think that's a good prediction.
Because Chosen versus Silver is the fight right now. Daniel versus Silver. I think they're saving. I think we're going to get Chosen versus Silver first. You know, if they bring in Julie, it's like, okay, like we don't really need it right now, honestly.
Wait, I have a question for you. How long do you think Silver's sticking around? Like, when do they beat Silver? Is Silver officially like the big bad, seeing the series through to the end, or could they defeat him maybe next season?
That's a good question. That's a good question. And I've seen some like interviews from Martin Kove where
Martin Kove can talk. I love him.
He can talk, and I love him. I love him. He mentioned that, you know, KREESE gets his revenge. He mentioned that. which we kind of had a feeling, but
as in KREESE gets his revenge on Silver.
Yes, okay. That's what I think. That's what I think.
I thought you meant. I wanted to make sure there.
That's what I think he was implying, and the fact that he mentioned that, you know, they just finished filming season 5. Yeah. They don't get the scripts for season 6 yet. I feel like, and you know, once again, these writers always find a way. I had a feeling that this Silver KREESE arc would happen before season 4. I was like, they're gonna go down that route where Silver starts to slowly take over and, you know, then eventually abandon KREESE. But I thought that would be season 5. I thought they would prolong it. Season 4, they would be best buds the whole season. Then season 5, it would start. But they went right for it. They were not buds at all. Just bye. So, you know, it may be like, you know, as fans, we might be like, okay, but if they defeat Silver at the end of season 5, who's the bad guy? Mike Barnes? What are you gonna do? But you know, they find ways. Like, what if Miguel's dad comes in and it's like, you never know.
You don't ever know. I'm feeling like they're gonna stretch Terry Silver out for a while, and also, you know, we were just bringing up the idea of like 6-season arc, but maybe they'll go longer if they have the story. I do feel like, even though I imagine they have some sort of plan in mind, they're very good at listening to the fan response, and the fan response for Terry Silver has been very, very strong. So, you know, maybe if they were going to give him a shorter run because everyone loves him so much, they might give him a longer run. it makes more sense to me to keep him around for longer, or at least until the main group of kids go to college, and then maybe Daniel and Johnny could become college karate coaches, and that's where we move to next. I don't know. Now I'm just making stuff up.
All right, this is jumping really ahead, but like, the very last episode of Cobra Kai ever that we get, like season 7, episode 10. Okay.
Okay.
It can't just be like, oh, everyone's in college, Johnny and Carmen are getting married. It can't be like just a happy reunion. There still needs to be plot. There still needs to be an antagonist to defeat. Is Silver that antagonist in season 7, episode 10?
I'll play this game and I'll say right now, I think Terry Silver is going to see us through to the end of the series.
Okay.
He's too good in that role. He's too good. And maybe with that in mind, maybe we don't see the Cobra Kai franchise up and running in full form next season. Maybe we do see them still starting to build it out.
Terry Silver is Cobra Kai right now, and that's the name of the show. So
he's got to be around.
It'll be interesting. It's definitely interesting, but we'll see what happens. Well, Perri, I just want to thank you so much. This was such a fun conversation. A lot of really interesting scenarios that we brought up, and I definitely probably the biggest thing that you brought like into my mind that I would love for them to do to end the show is having all 3 dojos and KREESE. That being his redemption, still teaching Cobra Kai, but having changed. I would love that ending.
I'm really feeling that ending. I'm feeling that idea, and I love the idea of Robbie running Cobra Kai in some sense.
And the idea of me being brothers.
Oh, of course, that's
Miguel and Robbie. And okay, just want to make sure we're on the same page with that.
I'm not gonna forget that now.
Okay, every time you think of the show. Or when you see the whole Miguel Robbie connection, know that I will be coming.
There's a third one in the mix.
I will be joining that story. Like there's a third one coming. I promise. All right. So everyone in the chat, thank you guys so much for joining and for commenting your what if scenarios. Perri, do you want to tell everyone where they can find you and any if you have anything new coming up that fans should look forward to?
I will plug my own YouTube channel. You just search my name and you find it pretty quickly. You could see me in the movie theaters. I'm working with Nuvi on a segment called Perri's Picks. So if you get to the theater early enough, I give some recommendations for upcoming movies. And
wait, any movie theater?
I don't think it's any movie theater. I think it's particular chains, but it's like out there and playing and people are seeing it on the big screen. And I still can't believe that's a real thing that exists.
Around the country.
Yeah. Yeah. You go into an AMC and you get there early enough for the Nuvi pre-show. And I've got like a little segment now.
So what do you do in that segment?
So I've been working with them for a couple years now, and I've been contributing to this other segment they used to do called Nuvi Close Up. But just recently, they decided to give me my own little mini show, and it's called Perri's Picks. And each episode, I recommend 3 upcoming movies that I'm really excited about. And for my first episode, I chose Matrix, Scream, and Moonfall. And it's just learning a little something about upcoming movies.
Wow, that's so cool. And you probably must have, did you find it was like kind of like you were getting more traction from it from Spider-Man, which was obviously the big.
That was the first weekend it debuted.
Oh no.
I heard more about it from, I'm pointing to the wrong side, from Scream, because a lot of people out there know it's like I'm obsessed with Cobra. I'm very obsessed with Cobra Kai. Karate Kid is one of my favorite franchises out there. My 2 favorite film franchises of all time, though, are Scream and Jurassic Park.
Okay.
So I think that when people saw me pop up before Scream in particular, it's like, I don't know. The people going to see Scream, like we're on the same wavelength, movie loving wise. So I feel like that got the bigger response.
That's so cool. Well, I go to the movies early, but I'll let you know if I see you. That'd be pretty.
Please do.
That would be pretty cool.
The next one should look real good. I just upgraded and I shot it in 4K, and I feel very fancy about it.
how often do you do an episode, like, to switch in the theaters?
I think I'm not sure how often they're gonna switch them up, but I don't know, if I were to estimate based on the movies that I highlighted next, I feel like it's something like the content would have to change monthly in order to keep up to date with what's coming out and, get rid of the movies that have come out. So a new
That's super
a new
cool.
one probably next month after Moonfall comes out.
That's super cool.
I'm very, very lucky. I'm so grateful that I have that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Someone said Terry's gonna hire Perry. Terry
I'm
Silver's gonna
fine with
hire
that.
you. That'd be funny. Yeah, and also, guys, I have Perry's YouTube channel linked
Thank you.
down below, and I also have Collider linked down below. I've been watching Collider and your stuff for a while. All the Star Wars discussions, Jedi Council, movie talk,
Oh, man.
all
My
that.
heart, I miss those days, but ladies' night is still thriving. There's
Yeah,
that.
no, it's awesome. I love all of it, and especially the Cobra Kai stuff. It's just, you know, you're right on it, right after a new season, and I hope you can do some more interviews.
Always.
Why not?
I will always be going after those.
Yeah, you got to get the younger cast, like the newer Dallas, Kenny,
Yeah,
and Anthony. That'd be
I was
cool to see you
thinking
interview
about
them.
that. I was thinking about maybe adding some more interviews like between seasons and just like keeping the coverage going a little more consistently than I have in the past. So maybe that's the time to get them on the channel.
That'd be awesome. Well, everyone, thank you guys so much for joining. Appreciate you all for joining. And remember to subscribe to me and to Perry. And we'll see you guys next time on Cobra Kai Kid. And until then, remember, Cobra Kai never dies.